The blizzard had teeth. Arya Ven had survived worse. She'd walked through the acid rainforests of Kelper 9, held her breath in the methane swamps of Titan's moon, and once spent 3 days in a broken shuttle with nothing but recycled water and determination. But this frozen hell of a planet called Vorskar, was testing even her legendary endurance. The wind howled across the white wasteland, carrying ice crystals sharp enough to cut exposed skin. Arya's thermal suit regulated her body temperature, but the cold still found ways to creep in through the joints, through the seams, through the very fabric of her resolve. She'd been tracking the frost worm for 6 hours. The creature's bioluminescent trail glowed faintly beneath the snow, leading her deeper into the glacial valleys where even the native Vorskari rarely ventured. The hunt was supposed to be simple: track, tranquilize, tag for the Galactic Conservation Corps. Nothing she hadn't done 100 times before. Then the ground gave way. The ice shelf cracked like thunder and Arya plummeted into a crevasse hidden beneath fresh snowfall. She hit the slope hard, tumbling down into darkness, her body slamming against jagged ice walls. Pain exploded in her left leg, a snap she felt more than heard. Her rifle skittered away into the abyss below. When she finally stopped rolling, Arya lay gasping in the blue twilight of the crevasse. Her leg was definitely broken. The suit's med scanners confirmed it with cold efficiency. Fractured tibia, possible internal bleeding, core temperature dropping. She tried to move. White-hot agony shot through her leg and she bit down a scream. The walls of the crevasse rose 20 meters above her, smooth and impossible to climb even with 2 working legs. "This is Arya Ven," she whispered into her comm unit, her breath fogging in the freezing air. "I'm down. Coordinates transmitting. If anyone's listening." "I could use some help," Static answered. She was too deep, the ice too thick. No signal would penetrate this natural tomb. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time became fluid when every heartbeat was a negotiation with pain. Arya's vision blurred. The cold was winning, seeping through her suit's failing heating elements. She thought about her mother's ranch on Earth, about the smell of summer grass, about anything but the growing darkness at the edges of her consciousness. That's when she heard it, a chittering sound, high-pitched and curious. 2 shapes appeared at the edge of the crevasse above. Small, furred, with 6 legs each and eyes that glowed like amber lanterns in the dim light. Vorskari cubs, no bigger than earth wolves, their thick white fur rippling in the wind. Rock and Sira. She recognized them instantly. She'd been studying their pack for weeks, watching from a distance as their mother taught them to hunt. The cubs had been curious about her, often following at a safe distance, their heads tilted in that peculiar way that suggested intelligence far beyond what the galactic census had documented. "Hey, little ones," Arya whispered, managing a weak smile. "Not a good time for a visit." The cubs chittered to each other, a rapid-fire conversation in clicks and whistles. Then, to Arya's amazement, Rock began to descend into the crevasse. His claws found purchase in the ice, his 6 legs distributing his weight perfectly. Sira disappeared from view above. Rock reached her, his warm breath misting in the frozen air. He sniffed her broken leg carefully, then made a low, mournful sound. His intelligence was evident in his eyes. He understood she was hurt, that she was dying. The cub did something Arya had never seen documented in any Vorskari behavioral study. He began to dig. His powerful claws tore through the snow and ice, creating a path, a ramp leading upward at an angle gentle enough that perhaps, maybe, she could be moved. Sira returned with something in her mouth, a length of what looked like root cable, the kind that grew in the warmer valleys. She dropped it down to Rock, who dragged it to Arya. They were making a harness. "You brilliant little monsters," Arya breathed, tears freezing on her cheeks. Working together with a coordination that defied their young age, the cubs fashioned the root cable around Arya's torso. Then they began to pull. Rock pushed from behind while Sira hauled from above, and inch by agonizing inch they dragged the human hunter up the ramp they'd carved. The pain was indescribable. Arya's broken leg dragged uselessly, her body screaming protest with every movement. But the cubs didn't stop. When Rock tired, Sira took his place. When the ramp proved too steep, they dug a new path. Their determination was absolute, their purpose clear. It took them 3 hours to get her out of the crevasse. When Arya finally felt flat ground beneath her, she wanted to weep with relief. But the cubs weren't finished. The blizzard still raged and her shelter was kilometers away. With the same methodical determination, Rock and Sierra began dragging her across the snow. They pulled her through the storm, two small creatures hauling a being twice their combined weight through the worst weather Vorskar could offer. They stopped when she needed water, melting snow with their warm breath. They curled around her when her shivering became dangerous, sharing their body heat. When the pack's alpha found them, a massive Vorskari matriarch, she simply watched as her cubs continued their mission. Then, understanding something that transcended species, she joined them. The alpha took position beside Arya, her body a windbreak against the storm. They hauled her home, through the snow, through the darkness, through conditions that would have killed most species. They didn't stop until they reached Arya's shelter, a prefab structure half buried in drifts. As the shelter's automed systems activated and began treating her injuries, Arya watched through the window as Rock and Syrah chittered proudly to their mother. The alpha touched her nose to each cub in turn, then looked back at the human inside. Their eyes met across the species divide, and in that moment Arya understood. The galactic census was wrong about the Vorskari. They weren't just intelligent. They were compassionate. They understood loyalty, sacrifice, and the simple truth that sometimes saving a life mattered more than anything else. The next morning, rescue arrived. As Arya was loaded onto the medical shuttle, she looked back at the three Vorskari watching from a distance. "I owe you everything," she whispered. Rock and Syrah chittered, and somehow Arya knew they understood. In the Galactic Conservation Corps official report, Arya Ven recommended that the Vorskari be upgraded to sapient status. She attached her suit's video recordings, evidence of tool use, problem solving, and most importantly of two young cubs who understood that a life was worth saving. The proposal passed unanimously, and on frozen Vorskar, beneath the aurora-lit skies, the Vorskari packs would tell their cubs stories of the human who fell during the hunt, and how their kind proved that compassion knows no species, no language barrier, no difference too great to overcome. Humanity had taught the galaxy many things: innovation, stubbornness, and an inexplicable refusal to quit. But that day it was humanity who learned, from two alien cubs hauling a broken hunter home through the snow, that the best of human values aren't human at all. They're universal.